Parental guidance is recommended because this episode has mature topics and strong language. Here are some moments you can look forward to during this episode of Book Interrupted.
They kill it until it's dead. She beats it over the head, and I'm like, yes, yeah, I agree totally.
The general wolf rules for life, and I kind of like them.
Oh! Maybe that's why Kara loves being naked so much.
Yeah, because clothes offend her.
Of course, you think it's the best one.
Oh, it is. I was like, this story is about me.
No. If anyone's seen adolescent pictures of Kara, you'll know why.
Like it was, one of those cries when you can't even get, you're just like, like it was one of those, like it was hardcore.
Just give me the facts and tell me how to do it. I need emotional intelligence now.
Right? No one knows that dating is essentially an exercise in understanding what you don't want. All 40 of those guys.
My body and soul, information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being distracted. My body and soul, information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being disrupted. Mind, body, and soul. Inspiration is the goal. And we're gonna talk it out on Book Interrupted.
Welcome to Book Interrupted, a book club for busy people to connect, and one that celebrates life's interruptions. Hi, I'm Sarah. I started Book Interrupted and asked the closest people to me to be part of it. First, I asked my sister.
Hi, I'm Meredith, the sister.
My first friend.
Hi, I'm Kim, the first friend.
My old roommate.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, the old roommate.
My high school friend.
Hi, I'm Kara, the high school friend.
My good friend and Kara's sister.
That's me. Hi, I'm Leah, Sarah's friend, Kara's sister, and the final member of Book Interrupted.
If you'd like to join along, this book cycle is from January 3rd to February 7th. It's Sarah's book cycle, which is mine. And the book we're reading is Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, PhD. Through storytelling, this book dives into the wild woman archetype and how it can be restored. If you'd like more information about Book Interrupted and our current book cycle, please go to www.bookinterrupted.com. Let's listen in to this episode's group discussion.
Can I start it off by asking who finished the book?
It took me 2 months to read 150 pages. And then in 3 days, I did the rest. And this was my strategy. I read all of the fairy tales. And then on any given paragraph, I would read the first sentence. If she was going off talking about Greek mythology or something that did not have to do with the analysis, I skipped to the last sentence. And then I went on. So I skipped a lot of paragraphs. And if she started a sentence where she's like, I'm going to give you an example followed by 20 more examples, I'd be like, I just need the first example. I get it. I know what you're talking about. And if you just took that, I think the book would be 100 pages.
But it wouldn't be the same book, Mare.
It was like reading the Old Testament. Have you tried that? And the birds and the dogs and the cows and the horses and the elephants and the this. The Old Testament just goes on and on about all
animals.
The creatures created. You're like, I get it. You made all the animals. Just say that. So it's kind of written like the Old Testament. That's how I got through it.
Right.
It was like, I can skip this whole 3 pages. I get it. That's what that thing symbolizes.
But then it doesn't sink into deep knowing and understanding.
Part of the thing I like about the book, I know that other people, that's what they hate about the book the most, but maybe because when I dive into something, I kind of like to overly obsess about a topic until I've killed it. And that's what the book does with every single story. They kill it until it's dead. She beats it over the head and I'm like, yes, yeah, I agree totally. And then we get to the next story and I'm finally satisfied. So I loved it, but that's my personality. Let's beat something over the head.
Yeah, I totally the exact same thing, Sarah. And what it did for me was it forced me out of thinking mind. By going on and on and on and on, it made me have to sever that comfort of remaining in critical mind. I had to get into intuitive mind because it's the only way through you're going to get through 5,000 pages on the same topic shared just a million different ways, right?
I did consider getting like an Audible subscription or something for it because she does have a lovely speaking voice.
Maybe that would change the experience.
Yeah,
having it read
I didn't
to
know
you.
if that was like cheating or not. I didn't finish the book.
That's not
But I
cheating.
did recommend it. I sent it to my girlfriend who's a writer for her birthday because I didn't finish it. I got to 150 barely by pure force. But I was like, well, I gotta finish it. And I listened to a little bit of it on Audible and her voice is heavenly. So
is?
maybe that would be, but is that cheating?
No.
No, not at all.
I also downloaded,
Okay.
she has like an audiobook that she did before she wrote the book, I think, or they say it before it came out. And it's just like, I got from my library, it was like 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And I could not get through 20 minutes. Yeah.
Good to know.
I had the opposite experience as you, Leah.
There you go. Well, I didn't end up buying the Audible, so clearly
I was like, who's
it was a
Yulia?
beautiful voice for that 15-second sample. No, I'm sure she has a great voice, but you know what I mean.
I really liked I thought the myths were beautiful and the stories were beautiful. And I actually, in my book report, you'll hear that I said I only got about halfway through. Well, last night, where I don't even have where the thing is, but last night I actually went through and read just the rest of the stories and the myths because I liked them. I thought they were beautiful. And I just think that it was just drowning in analysis. And exactly what Sarah said is exactly the opposite. I want to be told something and then me be able to take from it and make my own opinions. I don't want to be told 25,000 times what her opinion is of it and how to analyze something. I'd rather, it's if you're looking at a piece of art, I don't want somebody to stand over my shoulder and say, this is the reason that this is blue and this is red. I want to be like, well, I feel that this is blue and this is red for my own reasons. And I think as an artist and as a writer, I want people to take from my stuff and make their own opinions. I don't want somebody to have to I don't want to have to, explain it to somebody. And so I think that's what the problem I had with this book is I don't want the explanation. I just want and she wrote those stories. Like she took them from other people and wrote them. So, and her poetry, some of her poetry in there is beautiful. She has some really nice poetry. And I want to say one other thing. I did get to the end of the book and I think everybody has seen these or read them. But if you guys didn't I saw it a lot on the internet, but the General Wolf Rules for Life. And I kind of like them. So for you two that didn't get to this, are you okay if I read them?
Yeah.
They're so good.
What
Good
page
call.
is it?
It's on page 498. So the very end of the book, or almost the end of the book. For me, it summed up the book, even though I'm not an expert and I didn't read the whole thing. But so General Wolf Rules for Life. Eat, rest, rove in between, render loyalty, love the children, cavil in moonlight, tune your ears, attend to the bones, make love, and howl often.
Often. Yeah, it's so
And I like
good.
howl. So I really like that of the book, even though it was.
Me too.
Kim, what do you think? You haven't said anything.
No, I feel like I'm not qualified to speak about it because that's how little I read.
How much did you read?
I wish when everyone was saying page numbers, I was like, oh, I got to the end of Skeleton Woman. And I'll tell you where I was. I was about to begin Ugly Duckling.
It's the best one.
I
Jim.
know,
It's
and
the
you told
best
me,
one.
and-
Of course, you think it's the best one.
Oh, it is. I was like,
That
this
one.
story is about me. No,
If anyone's seen adolescent pictures of Kara, you'll know why.
Hey, I knew her when she was adolescent. We were friends.
I know. We've known each other since we were 8 years old.
Yeah,
really?
And my
I didn't know
glasses
that.
were this
Yeah.
big.
The glasses
So
were the
big.
best.
and my
The
bangs
glasses were the
started back here.
Yeah, thanks.
I know the bowl cut. Like it was so
It was
many
so
bangs.
Sally Jesse Raphael. It was so good.
Your mom was making you look super.
Weird.
Yeah.
The weird
But she's
thing is
unique,
that-
right?
Yeah, she's
You're
unique.
unique, New York.
Yeah, Leah and I were only allowed to wear,
York.
like green and brown clothing when growing
that
up.
right?
Like,
Oh,
she
wow.
wouldn't allow other colors. Always
Was
an
she trying to
overall.
go
of
against
corduroy.
gender roles? Like,
So
was she
much
trying to
corduroy.
embrace like the yellows and the
I don't know.
greens in a
She dressed
anti-gender?
us like we were like kind of like poets or something.
Yeah, you
Like-
know what?
Yeah,
Good
like a
one.
lot of
Totally.
corduroy, a lot of turtlecks,
So
like
many
Simon
turtlenecks.
Garfunkel.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That's it.
We
such a good
are
Halloween
Simon and
costume.
Garfunkel. Yes, yes.
That is an interesting style goal.
Oh, dude.
They owned
It
it.
is interesting.
They owned it.
Sure we did.
Maybe that's why Kara loves being naked so much.
Yeah.
Because clothes offend her.
Stay off of these. She's sweating in corduroy and turtleneck.
Guys, like it's not an exaggeration. It was all turtlenecks. It was turtleneck after turtleneck.
Did you guys ever have Dickies? My mom used to get us Dickies.
No, that wouldn't have been
We
right.
weren't spared that.
No, we had to go full turtle.
Hey, I'm wearing a turtleneck. I like my turtleneck.
No, it looks good.
I love a turtleneck.
But when it's your only option.
Do you only wear turtlenecks, Schweitz?
No, of course not.
Gee, what turtleneck will I wear today?
This interruption is brought to you by Unpublished. Do you want to know more about the members and Book Interrupted? Go behind the scenes? Visit our website at www.bookinterrupted.com.
Book interrupted.
Interruption for wolves. I need all the interruptions I can get. I'm really struggling with this book.
Book interrupted.
I have a question for both Sarah and Kara because they're the two that loved this book. Was there any particular stories that you read and then the analysis that really touched you, or that's something that, because I know both of you said it changed your life. So I want to know how it changed your life, because for me, it didn't, obviously. And for the rest of us four, it doesn't seem like it changed our lives.
Yeah, like which story resonated with you the most and why?
Do you want to go first, Kara?
Yeah, you go, Sarah.
The most polite members goes to...
So for me, it's like that Cinderella story, and it's right in the beginning of the book. It's right after the second story. So you probably all have read it.
When she goes meets Baba Yaga, that one? Yeah.
Yeah, and she has the stepmother and the two stepsisters. Yeah, that one just really spoke to me, and I think it was just what was happening at the time. I feel like the step family is like your ego, your pain body, and what was like groundbreaking for me is victim. So for me, whenever I get upset about something, I either go, and I used to always go to self-loathing, which is your pain body. It's an Eckhart Tolle reference. In the New Earth, he calls it your pain body, where you're like negative self-talk, like you're so stupid. Why did you do it that way? Like I used to do that all the time to myself until I read that book. It's one of my favorite books. Because of that, I was like, oh man, I do talk to myself a lot really meanly. So I actually named my pain body back then as if it was someone else being mean to me, because that's what I felt like. I would never let anyone talk to someone I loved in that way. Why am I talking to myself that way? So I called her Sally. Yeah. So whenever I would be like, I'd be clumsy or something, and I'd be like, oh, you're so stupid, everyone's laughing at you. I'd be like, okay, Sally, you're not stupid. You just tripped. You're a human being. Enough.
No, you guys need to name the characters. It's so fun and helpful.
So, and then I had one for the ego too, like when I get angry, I immediately go to beating myself up, and then I go to the other way, I like flip all the way to the other side where I'm like, why is everyone being upset with me in the first place? Because I am so awesome. And then I go to ego, and then all of a sudden, this book helped me realize.
What's Ego's name? Can you share what Ego's name is?
Cassandra.
And, she's a diva.
One of the things I really do when I get upset, but I never really recognized it until I was reading this particular story in the book, was I go to victim. Like all of a sudden, poor me. Like no one appreciates me and no one really loves me that much. And if I wasn't here, like I go into so self-pity. And then I realized I was doing that a lot. So I catch myself beating myself up so I could easily stop myself from doing that. But I would just grab hold of I'm a victim and not let go. So now whenever I get really upset, I like look for all three of those, common threads. And then I'm able to actually consciously be like, okay, what's really happening here? Do you know what I mean? Like actually figuring out like emotional intelligence, what's happening, instead of being like, poor me. Like what's happening is that I do everything and no one ever appreciates me.
Victim have a name?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I called.
Oh, that's so great that you don't remember.
I don't even remember now.
That's so good.
But I'm able to snap out of the victim way faster than I ever could with Sally. Sally took a long time. I really
fucking Sally. Fuck that bitch.
Really hated myself back then. Like to the point where I would listen to Eckhart Tolle in my iPod when I'd walk back and forth to work, because his voice is soothing, but just kind of remind myself, like, you're a good person and you're nice. Stop being mean.
That was that when you and I lived together, right?
That was before we moved in. Right before we moved in, actually. But obviously I was still probably working on it when we were living together. It took a while for Sally to go.
Yeah, I think it's like an ongoing project. Once you, like, because once you shared with me that you named your, like, your judge / critic, your pain body, your ego, your victim, then I stole it and did it as well. And you can just catch yourself that much more quickly. And it's way easier to flip the bird to a character than to yourself. Because that's what you need to do. You need to, like, enough, because that's just conditioned thoughts, right? That just keeps you creating the identity that you created for yourself at a point in your past where it served you well to have those thoughts, because then it would create a certain result and you'd be allowed to live through your life and survive it. But you need to, like, nip it in the butt. It's so helpful, guys. If you ever
Kara,
want to-
how many characters do you have?
Oh my God, so many. Well, just those
Yeah, I'm
4
not an
primary. Like the ego is Liza after Liza Minnelli. And the critic or judge is Vivian after Vivian Westwood. The victim is Juliet from Romeo and Juliet. And also because she's very dramatic, and that's my overriding energy in my psyche. Like I always go back to victim. And then what? Oh, pain body is after A Streetcar Named Desire, Blanche Dubois. Blanche. And it just, you know, so yeah. But it's fun. It makes it more fun so you can giggle when you're in the shit. You know what I mean?
Victim is Terry. Sorry, I just remembered her.
Terry.
Yeah, Terry.
Oh,
Freaking
Terry.
Terry.
It's a fun way to cultivate mindfulness. Because
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Right. That's really what's happening there. It reminds me of this metaphor that they use in acceptance and commitment therapy called passengers on the bus. And so all of those characters that you just described are passengers on your bus, but you're the driver, right? So Terry might be in the back being like, oh, I never get to go where I want to go or whatever, right? And the point is that you accept that Terry's there and you're like, yep, Terry, I hear you. Anyways, I'm driving. So it's cool. Like, so why, like, it's hard to be mindful if you don't get a hook. And those are good.
Yes.
Hooks, right. For mindfulness. And then what happens is you're able to respond. That's the emotional intelligence part, right? Rather than react. Because
Exactly.
when you let Terry drive the bus, right, then you're reacting from your victim, right? So it's like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love
Don't
that.
give
Like,
Terry the
I
keys.
don't understand what that has to do with that story. But
Well,
Well,
I
it
get what you're
reminded
talking
her
about.
about all the people that she carries with
So
her, because each of Clarissa's stories, although there are characters, they're actually energies
Archetypes.
within all of our psyches.
So I act as if they're the 3-step family, and then when I feel them coming, when I'm upset about something, I actually visualize taking like that skull and burning them into ashes.
Cool.
You know, at the end,
Wow.
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 I thought you were
I know.
going to say, I imagined the doll and giving the doll food and asking her which way to go.
no,
But I was
burn
not
them.
Imagine
expecting you to say
Meredith's
burning them to a
horror.
crisp.
I take the skull and burn them to the ashes.
For me, that
Get away
story
from
was
me.
way more about intuition. And I guess you could relate, but like for me, it was how the mother gave her that doll, and it's like the role of the mother parent, right? The female figure in making sure like that the only, like the one thing, like, or the most important thing that they pass on is that willingness to trust yourself, right? To listen to your intuition. And like that lesson was translated through the vehicle of the doll, right? She didn't know what to do and she listened to the doll, which she thought was her mother, until she did know what to do. And it was like that handing down of the concept, right? Like the intangible lesson of you need to trust yourself, and you have a really powerful gift to know what to do.
But that
I
the
love-
only way to get there is through doing the work of the hands. It's not just about sitting there and being a passive participant in your life. It's about, so yes to all you're saying, and the path to get there is through doing the work. So while she's with, what's her name?
Salisa.
Yeah.
While she's with Baba Yaga, it's about doing the sorting and the sifting. What has priority? What has value? What can fall away? Where do things belong? Outside, externally, and internally.
Yeah, I like
so
that.
the way to connecting to the self-confidence of knowing the knowing is within you is through doing the doing.
Absolutely, because that resonates with me because I often can cognitively grasp a concept. And like, so through my teens and early 20s, I cognitively understood things, but only from the perspective of my 40s. Looking back, do I see the messy mistakes as the doing that made me actually, at my fibers, understand what I always understood, but didn't really understand because they weren't, folded into my existence.
Yeah, you didn't have the experiential learning part, which is correct. Inevitably messy. Yes. You have to have the messy for the learning to sink.
It's just like when you like do dating and you figure out what you don't want. Right? No one knows like that dating is essentially an exercise in understanding what you don't want. And then you do it enough and it fails all the time. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because then you figure out, oh, okay, all of those things I don't want. Now I know what I do want.
All of that. All of it.
All 40 of those guys.
Oh my God.
Okay, so that was the story for me.
Just prior to beginning Clarissa's book, I had been getting into like Enneagram stuff, which is just another way of archetypes, because yes, I'm obsessed. The Ugly Duckling story spoke to that in great detail, and tons of healing came about as that. I realized one of my primary values is inclusion, and that I don't need to hold on to the story of I'm so different. I'm always on the outside. I'm always being pushed off. I'll be forgotten about. It was like just a beautiful story about like, it's better to be even on your own than to stay somewhere where you don't belong. And that there is everything natural and beautiful about that. So that story was great because it just helped me step into owning it and being responsible around those thoughts and behaviors that kept making me believe I was always outside of the circle. And then the second story that Sarah, I don't even know that she understood a word that I said that day when I called. Like, it was, one of those cries when you can't even get, you're just like, like it was one of those, like it was hardcore. Just because my husband and I absolutely do love each other, but I'm changing. And so that impacts the dynamic. And so we're just trying to figure out that new dynamic, right? And so I read the story of the skeleton woman, and when that woman climbs up onto the ship deck and the man makes time for her, and the tear, and I was utterly convinced. I was like, not even just my husband, but no one will ever want to make time to understand me. And again, that was me realizing my second primary value, which is understanding. And so that one, it was like a, I was like, I can't read the story. I can't finish the book. I'm convinced.
I remember you called to me. You called me and you're like, will anyone ever want to unravel me? I was like, what? Of course they will.
No one.
What?
I was like, and especially, I was like, just because Bob and I are so different. We're so polar opposites. He's all instinct. I'm all intuition. And he's so practical. I was convinced. I was like, why would he take the time to want to get to know me? I was like, it just doesn't fall into his level of what is practical here. And so I was convinced. I was like, and then I just started to wonder. And that's when I called Sarah. I was like, will any man or partner ever want to take the time to get to know their partner, fully? And
how long have you been together with Bob? I would argue he probably thinks he knows you. He probably thinks that's done on his to-do list.
The thing is, he does know me. But again, it made me, the story was so impactful because it made me come face to face with some really not wonderful limiting beliefs. And that's why it was beautiful and glorious, for me at least, is that, because I like to sweep things under the rug. I'm like, everything is harmonious and beautiful. I don't like to look at reality. So that's book
a really classic Enneagram 4 thing to do, is to idealize your partner.
Yep.
And hang all your hats on that hat rack.
Oh yeah, all of it. Yeah, because Leah and then Enneagram 4 too. Yeah, and we put everything. Our partner is meant to solve our life,
all of your needs, and that you think you're so fucking special.
Yeah,
that someone would need to take 10, 15 years to unravel you.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Nobody's got that kind of time.
No one.
Not even you. You can't even unravel you. And I say that as a hardcore 4.
You guys love the archetypes thing because it informs you about like your emotional intelligence and like looking at your reactions and figuring out what you need. That's why I like nonviolent communication. Because it just basically says any feeling you have is either because you have a need that's being met or a need that's not being met. And then you go, oh, why do I feel angry? Something's not being met. And you can look at a list of needs and be like, oh, whatever. I didn't eat. Whatever. I don't know. Like there's needs like, spiritual
I like that.
needs.
I like it.
Whatever.
Getting into like attachment theory. Yeah.
But it's interesting because you guys approach it that way with archetypes. And I'm totally like, give me the facts and the data, man. Like I just want to get to it. Like give me a table with a list.
The
like,
thickness of your
our
book
group
reflects
is so
it too.
cool because we're so different that way, right?
I know that's true, Katie, right. The thickness of her book reflects it. Our book's like super small print and like super there's like, let's get to the point.
Old Testament is the best description I've heard. Imagining, maybe I hope I don't set myself up for disappointment, but I'm expecting satisfaction because I know what Mary's describing and that's like speaking to me. I'm like, that's what I want. I don't have time for bullshit.
Just give me the facts and tell me how to do it. I need emotional intelligence now when I'm feeling angry or sad or something. Like my kids are triggering me and I need to be able to deal with it today.
I need to protect them.
Right. And me and Kara want to slowly unravel our skeleton.
I know.
Ooh, I got my shoulder at this time. Let's look at that. Let's look at that for 10 years.
Yeah. And from 150 different angles.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Book Interrupted. If you'd like to see the video highlights from this episode, please go to our YouTube channel, Book Interrupted. You can also find our videos on www.bookinterrupted.com. Moments you can look forward to on next week's Book Interrupted.
Was it Coyote Dick?
Yeah, the
Coyote Dick.
It's like a relationship, this book. You gotta be.
It is.
Yeah.
Should I do that next time I make love to my husband?
Me picking apart my soul and naming my pain body or whatever you say.
Right? Like it's very unusual for them not to be touching my body.
Like once it came out of me, I was like, where have you been hiding my whole life, secret?
Book Interrupted.